I think I quickly realized that actually running isn't that good for you. So if you do it
Yep.
12 months of the year, to be honest, you're probably going to get injured, burnt out, or just lose the love of it.
Welcome to the Spartan Endurance Series on Spartan Up Podcast with host Johnny Waite.
Hey Spartans, we have a fantastic episode for you today. Jonathan Albon, 2014 Spartan World Champion, Trail Racing World Champion, and great coach. And he's going to give all kinds of tips for how to get better, faster, stronger. You're not going to want to miss this one.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by AmazeFit. From May 18th to May 31st, Spartan Up listeners can head to us.amazefit.com/pages/Spartan to save $40 on a bundle that includes the AmazeFit T-Rex Pro. That's us.amazefit.com/pages/Spartan.
Hey y'all, we're here for another episode of Spartan Up Endurance Podcast. And quite often I'll say anyone who knows Spartan but doesn't know endurance might not know this guest, but that's not the case in this case. This guy's known in the Spartan world and in the endurance world. We're blessed to have Jonn Albon joining us, originally from the UK, now living in Norway. Jonn, I'm going to describe you as a professional all-round endurance athlete. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm someone that can't say no to a good challenge, and running is my forte, so I've kind of gone down that road.
Cool. Well, let's start with the start of the road. How did you get started in this world, and how did it become your job?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've spoken on a podcast or even been at a race, so I've forgotten my standard answer. Um, I'd say probably I started running when I was 20, and before that I played skate hockey, so it's like ice hockey but on wheels on rollerblades. When I quit
Sure,
that,
okay.
I wanted to keep fit, so I started running a bit. Um, and I really enjoyed training, to be honest. I really enjoyed making myself tired, and then I didn't feel lazy because I had to rest. So as long as I made myself tired enough, I was kind of happy. And that led to me getting fitter and entering into a few races, and I found I really enjoyed them, especially obstacle racing and Spartan racing, because it was like this full body fitness that I kind of wanted to try and create. I didn't want to just be a runner or just be like a strength athlete, or I wanted like a bit of everything. So yeah, I got into obstacle racing and quickly found that for some reason I had a bit of a knack for it, and got into other sports alongside, which really fed well into obstacle racing. So I got into
Yep.
orienteering, and I got into climbing, and I started doing these different things, which when all combined made me a good obstacle racer. So yeah, I actually moved to Norway, and that coincided with going to the US for the Spartan World Champs, and
hmm
somehow managed to win. Um, Even though it was my first time competing internationally, and I didn't really know what I was there for or why I was even there. But yeah, I'd quit my job. I'd moved to Norway. So then one night on the back of that race, I got a bit of prize money, and then I just didn't get another job. I just thought, well, I'm going to try and be a runner from now on, and I've been doing it ever since.
Fantastic. I know I've told you this story, but the listeners and watchers won't know that I was working in the UK back in 2014 building Spartan races, and Richard Pringle, who I know is a good friend of yours, he texted me when I was back in the States just before the World Championships, and he said, there's a name you're going to want to remember because a lot of people are going to know it in a couple of weeks. And he called the shot. He said you're going to come and win. And I know that also started a great rivalry between yourself and Ryan Atkins. I know you've gone on to be great friends, but boy, you guys have battled head-to-head many a time.
We have. That was the first time I raced Ryan, and it was fun because we were both kind of underdogs in that race, and it's always really fun to be an underdog. But I really think that he thought he had it all sewn up, and he was, to be fair to him, the stronger athlete, and he was better prepared, and he actually knew what he was in for, standing on the start line, I think. But somehow I managed to, yeah, come first over the line. I won't say it's just because of him missing both spears, but I think that's probably a big contributor. But no, it was fun. Ryan has proved himself many a time on the course, so to think that I have a
Yeah.
rivalry with him is pretty cool.
Fantastic. So you mentioned about really finding your pace in OCR and sort of carving out that niche as a well-rounded athlete. Were you a competitive runner coming into it, or did that grow out of wanting to become better at OCR?
I think how to put it. I mean, I've always enjoyed running, and I've never really found it as difficult as everyone else seems to find it. So I think I had some sort of natural talent when it came to running. But obstacle racing was definitely my first sport with running. I think I'd entered into a half marathon before my first obstacle race. And that went really well, but I wouldn't say that I was anywhere near like a competitive runner or anything. It was just because my sister did one, so I thought I'd have a go as well. So she actually entered me in for this one. But no,
So
I actually found running through obstacle racing. So
what I find really interesting about that is that you've gone on to become known as one of the better runners in obstacle racing. And I remember back when it was mud runs, before Spartan sort of carved itself out as the truly competitive race of the industry. And I remember saying, once runners come to this, like real runners who teach themselves how to do obstacles, you're going to see times just plummeting. And and that has proven to be the case. Ryan's another guy who's a great runner, but it's interesting to me that you didn't come in from a running background, and yet you are truly one of the strongest runners in the sport. So where else did you hone that running? So you found OCR, did well at that, and then said, hey, I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to find other opportunities.
yeah, I think one of the main reasons I really improved with the running is because I wasn't comparing myself as an athlete to other obstacle races. I was comparing myself running wise to runners and strength wise to climbers. And I was actually looking at other sports and thinking, well, they're that good at running in that sport, so I'm not that good at running. And that really gives you this hunger to improve. But yeah, there's been a lot of runners that have tried to come into obstacle racing. And I think there is just a special type of runner or person that really thrives in an obstacle race. And I think for some reason I had that, and it's that kind of grit that you get knocked down and you get straight back up again. You go into an obstacle hard and you leave it hard. And a lot of traditional runners that are used to just putting out the same pace mile after mile, they struggle with this kind of stop start and this getting dragged through a bush backwards and getting dumped in some cold water and stuff. So I think my heart kind of drove me through that. Like, I was always known in the hockey world as the person that didn't quit. I'd really just give it everything through to the end. And that's a big component in obstacle racing that people don't really talk about that much, to be honest, because it is very important just to keep going at it, even though you're getting beat up, because these courses, they do beat you up.
Oh, for sure. And so let's talk a bit about that then. How you, I appreciate that you're acknowledging that you came in with some natural talent. Like you say, running wasn't a chore for you; it's something you enjoyed, and you seem to have an affinity for the obstacles as well, and the climbing has certainly helped with that. But there's still a training component, because there's being naturally good at something and being top of the middle of the pack, or back of the leader pack. But to be the front of the leader pack, you have to take that natural ability and then hone it very sharply. So what's been your approach to that? What's been your approach to training to harness that?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, my training ethos has really developed and grown as I have grown as an athlete. And I like, back then I had no training ethos except for make myself really tired and then keep myself really tired for so long that suddenly I'm not tired anymore, and then make myself even more tired. And obviously that kind of works when you have a full-time job, because you have to go to work, so you have to rest. As soon as you become a full-time athlete, there's no more forced rest, and you just get burnt out and injured. And obviously that's one of the first things I did, was give myself shin splints. So this happens, and then from then I had to sit down and actually think what training works for me, and start developing my training ethos that works for my body, but also works for obstacle racing, because it's a new sport. It's not been around that long, and no one really knows exactly how to train for it. Even the sport is so random. There's a lot of different ways to train for it, and I had to work out what worked for me. So I think over the years, I've definitely developed what has worked for me, and I think I really have started to get somewhere with it. And the pinnacle of that was 2 years ago now, really training for the Trail Running World Championships, and actually managing to train really well towards that one race, put on the GB vest, and absolutely hammer that race and come away winning. And for me to be able to train and put all that year's experience into that one race and come away with the gold medal really started to concrete in my mind that I was starting to understand that I knew what I was doing. So that helped my confidence a lot, because I've never been the most confident of people. And once you start getting more confident, that can also improve. And I really do feel like over the last few years, I've actually come along on the training front, rather than just turning up to a race and thinking, have I trained to make myself better for this race, or am I going to perform well in spite of the training I've been doing, which has probably been making me more tired or worse?
Sure. A couple of things you've touched on there. The one is that in the trail racing world, there are a lot of people who do well for many years. Endurance obviously lasts longer than fast twitch, and yet there are some young people that come out and show great promise and then burn out young. Somebody who wins a race at 19 and isn't still running at 30. So I think that you've identified the importance of training for longevity so that you have a good long career. And then the other thing you mentioned, I've read up recently on fatigue resistance, that they're learning that that's a huge part of endurance, not just, VO2 max and things like that, but the idea of how good are you at continuing once you're fatigued. And it sounds like that was your original method, was just get yourself as tired as you can and then go further than anyone else will go that tired. So you mentioned that that it's really evolved, and now you have like an actual plan in your mind for this. And there's not really an OCR season in terms of 6 months. We sort of reset each calendar year. There's World Championships at the end of the year, but then they're racing again in January. And you said that with the running, and that being where your real profession is, that it's more of a summer sport. How do you balance that? The idea, there's the micro of a rest day in a training week, but what about the macro in terms of actually taking some time off?
Yeah, I think I quickly realized that actually running isn't that good for you. So if you do it
Yep.
12 months of the year, to be honest, you're probably going to get injured, burnt out, or just lose the love of it. And if it is your job, it's
Yep.
very easy to lose the love of training. And if you really enjoy running and really love it, it's like one of the worst things when it turns to be sort of like just one of those things that you have to do every day. So
Yep.
I found this was also off the back of having a long-term injury under one of my feet, which I actually just managed to fix now because there's been no races during COVID. So I finally actually fixed
When
my foot.
when you say under your foot, plantar fasciitis?
No, it was I actually broke both sesamoid bones about 4 years ago,
Yep.
and just got them fixed with an operation last year. So I've actually been running
Oh,
around with
congratulations.
two broken bones in my foot for 4 or 5 years. So that
Yeah.
off the back of that, I had to change training a lot. I had to really think, how can I build this really big engine, but limit how much time I'm doing on my feet? Unfortunately,
Sure.
living in Norway, there's a lot of snow in the winter, and I already love to go snowshoeing and go cross country skiing, but I discovered ski touring and randonnée, and found that was like the most fun, amazing form of training known to man. Like I could do hours and hours of it on end and build the biggest engine you could possibly imagine. And then come spring, start running. Obviously, you have to do it very gradually, like really watch out for like the shins and the feet, and just like up the mileage gradually. But then once you do get running again, that engine is insane of what you built over the winter. And it's a really fun thing to do as well. So you just keep wanting to do more of it. So the winter, that's turned into, the skiing has turned into like a hobby that is really beneficial. And then I kind of work with running during the summer. But I am finding now that my foot's fixed, I am rediscovering the love for running too. So I've got it good 12 months of the year.
That's fantastic. So the idea about finding something a little lower impact where you're not going to lose that cardio and that strength, but you're not going to keep wearing down those repetitious joints.
Yeah, and I think everyone can take that away, and obviously not do it to the scale that I do it. Like you don't have to do 15,000 meter plus weeks in climb, but just find a form of cross training which you think is fun, because that way it's going to work if it's fun, because you're going to do it a lot more, and then just include it as part of your training. Do it a little bit more in the off season. Try and build a big engine, and then keep doing it in the summer as well if you can, especially if it's like biking. Um, And through phasing this training, you're just going to create like a better training stimulus for your body, and you're going to get fitter and stronger rather than just keep banging your head against the wall, which is what running training can be like, to be honest.
Sure. And when you're targeting a race like the Trail World Championships or an OCR World Championships, what do you do in terms of tapering? Like, are you somebody who's very specific about 2 weeks before I'm going to lay off, or how do you approach that?
To be honest, I race so much traditionally in the summer, I don't really get a proper taper for any race. But for that Trail World Championships, I did have a base building phase, I had a sharpening phase, and then I tried to taper down. And I have learned a lot that if I just start resting, it's not good. Like I'm an athlete, I'm used to moving all the time. So if you suddenly stop me, I feel like a sack of potatoes. Like I feel crap. So I found it's good to do a week of rest and then a week of a little bit harder training the week before the actual event to add some stiffness back into the muscles. And that seemed to have worked for me. But tapering is it's just a personal thing. And you're just trying to create a certain feeling in your body, like a feeling of primed hunger where you can push. And what sessions it takes to create that feeling could be different from year to year or race to race. It's always going to change. But I've just found to take the sessions you did in sharpening and reduce the amount of reps, but keep the intensity the same, will just make you leave the session feeling hungry because your body has already got used to doing more and being more tired. So if you stop early, you kind of think, oh, I can handle some more, like let's go. But that's the best time to stop, and then you'll be ready for the race.
Okay, that's very applicable to anyone. I think of terms like active rest, and your definition of active rest would be very different than some people's. Your active rest would be their high end training, but it is all scalable, right? Because you don't have to be training for World Championships to have your own goals and ideals. Speaking of goals and ideals, what are you looking forward to coming out of this period of forced rest? I know that there's still been some competitions, and you certainly haven't been sitting on your duff, but how have you approached this last year, and what are you looking forward to coming out of it?
I actually think that I'm someone that's used this time to its best potential. Like it sounds harsh, but to be honest, I needed this break to fix my foot. Sure. And I moved to a different area in Norway, and now I've got like much nicer, cooler training areas. So that included buying a house and renovating it and stuff. So I really do think I've used the time well, but I do feel that if I don't get some races soon, the good shape I have been building over the last 6-7 months is going to kind of go to waste. So I am thinking that I'm kind of getting ready to race again. It's just Norway is moving relatively slowly on the vaccination front, and I'm not sure if it's going to be possible or worth it to travel without the vaccine, especially even one dose, maybe even like waiting for a second dose. So it doesn't look until maybe August that I can get back to a race. So it looks to be a heavy autumn season though, which is going to be great. There's the mountain/trail running world champs, there's the Spartan World Champs, there's the OCR World Champs. I was actually looking at the Spartan Trail series, which I don't think I can do the whole series now, but at least go to the one in Sweden would be great, and maybe like one other. But we'll see. There's some races there to do. I'm excited to do them. I think I've got myself in really good shape for where I am. It's not like top end racing shape yet, but the potential is definitely there. So I am starting to get excited.
Well, in 2014, you came in as an unknown underdog and surprised everyone. It won't be any surprise to see you on the podium at these races, but it'll be really good to see you back. It's been a long time, and you're a very familiar face and a welcome face to all these events. You bring great energy. So I look forward to seeing you this fall, and we're going to come back and chat a bit more, but I just want to thank you for this bit and encourage everyone to come back and hear what more you have to say.
Yeah, it's always fun to chat, and it's going to be great to see everyone at a race, hopefully soon.
Hey, if you've enjoyed this interview with Jonn, which I know that you have, you'll want to reach out to him at jonathanalbon.com for coaching, for his race blog, and just to see what he's up to. jonathanalbon.com.
This episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Amazfit. From May 18th to May 31st, Spartan Up listeners can head to us.amaze.com us.amazefit.com/pages/Spartan to save $40 on a bundle that includes the AmazeFit T-Rex Pro. That's us.amazefit.com/pages/Spartan. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Endurance Series on Spartan Up Podcast. Spartan Up is your partner in resilience for mind, body, and spirit. We're here 3 days every week. Tuesdays, you can find Joe DeSena, founder and CEO of Spartan, interviewing biohackers, business leaders, authors, and athletes. Thursdays and Saturdays, catch episodes from our DECA, Endurance, Trail, Combat, and La Ruta series. Do you know someone who needs a little nudge? Maybe they could use some motivation, tactics to be stronger, healthier, happier, more successful. Tell them about our show. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. We want to know who's watching and who's listening. Thanks. See you next time.